First, I just want to say thank you for joining us here and kicking off day 3, and also give a huge thank you to all of our other speakers of the first 2 days, and we look forward to exciting day 3. I'll start with you, Bill. Chrysanthi kind of teed us up, but why are digital health innovations so important to pharmaceutical companies?
It's a really important topic, especially if we look at the evolution of healthcare as well as our population. We're going to have healthcare shortages. We're not going to have enough providers, and that's just not U.S. specific. That's all over the world. We need technology in order to help close those gaps, be able to have more precise, timely diagnoses, as well as solutions to help patients. For pharmaceutical companies as a whole, life science companies, it's really important that we're understanding what the future needs of those patients are going to be, and then how do we bring solutions to them. What digital health is going to allow is for a more precise therapy development, as well as more precise patient population development, and then allow for us to have more of an impact throughout that patient's entire journey versus just a molecule at a time trying to treat or prevent a disease. And being involved in this phase where we are now, and it's not the early phases of digital health, maybe it's the early phases of broad digital health awareness, is really important so that the companies can understand and grow with those digital companies to be able to shape the market. If we don't continue to evolve and if we don't find the right solutions, then as the space continues to be defined, we'll be on the outside looking in of where innovation and solutions for patients are. And that's why it's really important that we find the right partnerships with the right solutions to be able to continue to innovate.
And we'll touch more on that as well. But go ahead, Alex. What is your thoughts on the importance of digital health in pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah, so thanks, Riley, and thanks for the opportunity to be here, and good morning, everyone. So of course, completely agree, Bill, with what you said, and I think that what I'd probably add to it is something has changed in this COVID period that we've gone through when we think about how people expect to experience healthcare, and importantly, how physicians, healthcare professionals, provider systems are delivering healthcare. Healthcare today has an element of digital already built into it, and it's happened at a much more accelerated speed than what any of us expected because of the circumstances we all went through. And if you then reach out to our customer community, what industry will call its customer community, especially the healthcare professionals in that community, and you survey them, their view is that their reality has changed, but the industry has not changed adequately to catch up with where their reality is. And what that means at a very simple level is that there is an expectation that we meet our customers where they are at. That means meeting patients where they're at, an expectation that healthcare is more seamless, is more digitally enabled than what it has historically been. And the same plays out for our customers on the physician and healthcare professional and health system side. So I think that, that we've all had passion and belief in digital health needing to play a role, and we've been waiting for it to mature and for it to happen. I think from the industry side, I would say when our customer pool demand is as strong as what it is now, I think it's an inevitable trend. It's just a question of what's the right model, how do we deploy at scale, how do we get impact? But the customer pool, I think, is defining that this is an inevitable move that industry will continue to invest in.
And let's touch on that a little bit more, Alex. So what type of digital healthcare innovations might be of the greatest interest for pharmaceutical companies? And then how can innovators identify the strategic fit for their product with relation to their company priorities?
Yeah, so that's a big question, not easy to sum up in a few minutes.
2 minutes, go.
I guess we'll give it a go, right? We'll give it a go. I think let's talk about like what I would sort of think of like easy innovation, and we move up the scale a little bit to more difficult innovation. I think firstly, the places that you're certainly seeing the biggest industry investment going in are looking at R&D productivity, looking at clinical trial effectiveness, and then looking at our go-to-market or customer engagement models. They're the areas that are getting the biggest investment today. The bits that are easier for us to implement and to track and measure effectiveness on are when we're applying digitization approaches to our internally controlled processes. But that's not where the big value pool is. The big value pools are clearly outside the organization, right? And I think that when we move to those big value pools outside of the organization, we then have the complexity of working out not only how do we get technology adopted into our own workflows and into the capabilities of our own organizations and teams, but how do we seamlessly achieve scale through partnerships that we're doing externally? And I think it's on that second bit, like this is the bit where we all really want to see the acceleration happen. I think it's also clear that this is where industry is not trying to do it alone and where we need really smart partners who we can work with, who we can learn from. But I think that I would just sort of call out, I think that the lift from those sort of more internally driven innovations to getting external innovations is big. And I secondly probably would just call out as a second sort of consideration that's always top of mind, you know, for big companies like Sanofi or Pfizer or any of the other major pharma companies, we need to be thinking about things that can get to scale. I think we're able to assist with incubation of innovation concepts, but really the game that gets sustainable commitment is innovation that gets to scale. And the formula for innovation that gets to scale is a little bit different. So I leave there as some thoughts that come to mind for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and feel free to touch on it, that strategic fit, you know, what are the types of innovations that you're looking at?
What's really important for every company that's out there that's innovating, especially in a startup environment, selling into, whether it's selling into pharma, selling into healthcare systems, selling into payers, is understanding what their strategy is. I mean, I think if Alex and I would discuss, which we won't openly, on like what our company's specific strategies are down to an incremental level of disease state areas and so forth, you'd see there's probably very different strategies in areas where we want to invest and what we're looking to bring value back out to shareholders and the market and patients and healthcare members and so forth. It's understanding what solution fits with that company. We get so many unsolicited requests about somebody having a solution, and that solution might be generic and it doesn't target an area where you're focused in, or somebody comes at a disease state and you can see, I mean, you can go on any company's webpage and see where they're investing. You can read their R&D focus and what fits to make a solution. And then whatever that solution is, making sure it can deliver, even if it's at an incremental level to start, like Alex was saying, you have a starting point of innovation and then you can scale moving forward. But being able to deliver something of incremental value that aligns to the portfolio interests of a company is incredibly important. So taking the time to do the research and making sure whatever technological product is being developed fits into that space, that's really important.
Yeah, you touched on kind of looking at if it's too generic or not aligned with the right disease state. Are there any other types of evaluative measures you use to determine if you're going to work with a startup or engage with a company, looking at if it's the right strategic fit or partnering within any given team? Can you touch on that a little bit more as well?
Sure. A lot of it is what's the incremental value that's going to get back to the patient? I think lots of times, especially when we think through innovation in healthcare, we're always thinking about commercialization models or new clinical data and evidence, but really it gets to the patient themselves. How do we help the patient at the end? So when you're evaluating, you have to think, does this solution actually drive incremental value to that end user, to the patient in the healthcare system? And then coming up, what's really important from my background and experience in market access and reimbursement is it a solution that's reimbursable in some fashion? And whether that's reimbursable through a healthcare system, reimbursable through a payer, is it something that the healthcare system wants? There's a lot of great solutions out there that nobody actually wants to use. Or there's a lot of great solutions out there that people want to use, they just don't want to pay for. So understanding the commercialization model and making sure that it fits in something that we have a structure today that could launch it or easily build out in the future is really important. So early on, you need a product that has distinct capabilities, rigorous evidence to validate it, but is a commercial fit to actually scale and build.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll close with you, Alex, kind of following up on that. And who do you look for in terms of identifying the right strategic partners to work with?
Yeah, so I think that there are a lot of engagements that are done for pilots, and then there are actual strategic, partnerships that are done. I think when we're doing strategic partnerships, we know exactly what we want to achieve, right? I think there's just this nuance of being aware of like when we're learning versus when we are all in, right? And it's obviously when we're all in that it's most enticing to partners. So I think exactly what Bill said, like, a lot of evaluation. We'll probably have consultants all over the place in the background, making sure that we're as informed as possible. So I think all of that mechanics happens. I think the thing probably to call out is you can never take away that the relationship is everything, right? And what I really mean by that is that if we're going to do a significant partnership with some smart companies, those leaders and that leadership team of that company is going to be profiled all around the company so that we get all the buy-ins and all the approvals and the investment that we're seeking. And I guess I just in the seat I sit in and the experience I would have, I would say just sometimes that chemistry is just not there for a work with a corporate. I mean, a corporate works on a certain cultural dynamic, and getting that leadership sync, that leadership chemistry, that I would say is like almost, if we've passed every other test, that is like the moment of judgment, really. So I think we never take away from the human dimensions of we're going to have tough times, and can we convince ourselves that we will all be able to get through the tough times by the relationship? I think that's like the make or break final point of a decision.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what we're doing here at HitLab, trying to foster some of those strong relationships. So thank you very much for your time and for speaking, and hopefully you can engage with some of the folks later on today at networking breaks, and really appreciate your insights.
Thanks, Charlie.